Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my tutorial. This tutorial will be targeting mostly people who want to learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript from scratch. It is it is going to be a small project, and I'll try to keep it as fun as I can, but I'm not one of these super excited people that you're gonna see in other tutorials, but I do know what I'm doing, and I will attempt to explain everything in detail, because mostly it is important that you understand the inner workings of these languages and these technologies, and not just trying to depend on code alongs only. Coding along someone else is not a bad thing to do, because it lets you practice and see for yourself how some things will work, but at the same time it's kind of like learning a song from memory, and that's not how you really learn how to sing. It's, it'll make you good at that particular song, but not really if you have to compose a song of your own and something like that. So we're going to try to make you a singer of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And yeah, that was my attempt to a joke. So let's walk through the UI a little bit and the project that we're going to be building, and that way you'll get an idea of what we will eventually be building. So if I pick here from the folder that I had already had pre-written, and I'll just go live, and I will explain what I'm doing here, click and go live and all that. That will be eventually part of the project itself as well, but for right now I just want you to see what we will eventually be building at the end of the course. So this is a very simple 3-page, actually it's not 4, because this page right here is not really working. That was just to show you something else, but the actual 3 pages that are working are the home, the about, and the program. So it's a simple 3-page HTML static website, and it's mostly about fitness and lifestyle and things like that. So I will show you through this tutorial how you can actually build this site so you can have several pages in it and things like that, and how to deal with the stylings, the CSS, and how to make certain small features that are running client side run with JavaScript. And you'll get to mess around with some of these images as well, and hyperlinks like that one, things like that. So the purpose of this UI is to basically show you on the screen as many HTML elements and some CSS properties and how they work together. Eventually in the course we're going to try to turn this this website into a front-end PHP website. We're not going to add any server-side code to it. In other words, by server-side I mean if you were to enter an email here, it's not going to send any email when you subscribe to anywhere. That will be done with server-side code, which we will not cover in this tutorial. This tutorial is mainly so you can build this stuff. Now you probably thinking, well, how will this ever help me, if I build a website that doesn't do anything? And that's true. It wouldn't actually help you if this is what you're going to build a freelancing business around. But if you decide that you want to become a front-end developer, for example, and or a UI UX developer, and you want to get a job in the field, you are going to be basically working with the front end only, not with the server-side code, sorry. So this is basically what will be expected of you to be able to produce. Okay, in some smaller companies you may have to do some server-side code, but it's not really necessary. It's not really what will be expected from a front-end developer. A front-end developer will basically build everything that is on the front end, including not just the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but a lot of the conditional stuff that will happen on the front end, well, which we will touch up on some of those. And once I'm done with this HTML and CSS and JavaScript tutorial, and I will eventually want to put out another tutorial for React and another one for Angular. those two languages, React and Angular, well, they're not really languages, they're frameworks or libraries. They are built in JavaScript, and they are used to build single page applications, or they're used for building websites also. But those websites are a lot more dynamic, and they do employ a lot more logic, and there is a lot more functionality that you can bring into those frameworks to build things that you normally wouldn't be able to do with just plain HTML and CSS, obviously. Okay, so a little bit about the project here. It's like I said, it's a single 3 pages simple website, 3 pages with a promotional banner or marketing banner, as they call it. This is right here. Let's talk about the structure of a website, the architecture of a website, and what do these things mean, because I hear a lot of people, when I talk to them that don't know anything about web design, they tell me about tabs on the top, and I ask them, what do you mean by tabs on the top? And this is what they mean. So yeah, there is terms that go along with this, with knowing web design and web development, but a lot of people don't know it until you're actually in the field, and then you get to know what is the proper terminology for certain parts of the website. So in order from the top to bottom, this right here will be the logo area. Pretty self-explanatory. This is where the logo will go. It could be an image, or it could be a vector, or it could be even a logo type like this, which is basically letters, and then you can style them. And then you have the navigation. This right here is the navigation, and these are the menu item with the navigation items inside the menu item. This entire black area is called the header. This right here could be anything. There isn't a proper a technical name for it. I call it marketing banner. If it has arrows on the side that bring in another one and another one and another one, it's usually called a slider. Then you have the news, the newsletter portion of it, which is not mandatory on every site, but some people have it. It could be anything else. This is just the body of the website, where in this case we're putting out what the main services are, or the main programs are, for this particular fitness and lifestyle company. And then this red part here is the footer, with the copyright on the side and some links on the side right here. So those are the basic main partitions on a website. In some other pages you will have something like this, where the main body is divided into 2 sections. When this happens, usually this area right here is called the aside. Alright, now why do they have these terms? We have these terms because they will make a lot more sense to you when you actually start building HTML, and you're gonna see something that is called semantic tags. Now, what are semantic tags? So if I switch my screen here, and semantic tags are basically actually let's use the let's use the other one. I want to reserve that for something else, for actually building the project. So semantic tags are sections within the site that are made that are made for you to know exactly what you're working with. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain it. I mean, the word semantics says it all. So if I were to turn this in HTML so it can actually work, I can show you what some of the semantic tags are. So some of the semantic tags in HTML include the header, or the navigation, or the aside, or the footer. Okay, some of these are semantic, and basically what they mean is that instead of using a very ambiguous type of tag that you would use to code anything else inside, which is a div is kind of like the wild card. It's the one that you use to build anything you want inside it. Okay, however, in some cases, instead of creating a div. Let's close this div right here so I'll show you what I mean. And then I'll put my header in here. Okay, and if this is going to be my header, right, which is basically this right here, will be sort of like all of this that you see here. Instead of doing this, I could put this in like the old days, oops, into a class header, and then now this right here is my header. In the new days, or the way that it should be done now, we can use semantic tags to simply do this. Now when you do this, the browser already knows, because this is HTML5, that, and the reason why this is not working correctly is because I don't have the doc type declare above it, so it doesn't know that I'm working with HTML5. But if I did have a document like this with a doc type specified and an HTML tag and a head and a body, and we're gonna go over all this later. I just wanted to show you, why the semantic tags are not really working right now. But if this was an actual document that I was working with, this header right here will be recognized by the browser as an HTML5 semantic tag that is meant to be used as the header of the site. So that's why we call it the header, to kind of go along with the language that we're building in, and then we will know everything about what we're working or what we're doing. Now inside the body, you could do different things, and this is making it really complicated because I had to keep retyping. So you know what? How about I'll create a doc type, and that was really fast, right? I'll show you how you can do that also really fast eventually. So, oops, not in the right place. So now I can actually, there we go. See how the browser, not the browser, but my IDE here knows that I'm working with HTML5. It recognizes it and automatically gives me a tag. Okay, so this is going to be my header, and then inside here I'm going to have a div, and this is going to be just my regular body. So if I was going to put here an H1 to, oops, messed that up. If I wanted to put an H1 tag and I put welcome, that will eventually create a welcome, big welcome on top of the screen, kind of like this one right here. This is something I'm working on right now, so don't worry too much about that. In fact, I'm going to minimize that. I'm just going to bring that, there we go. Keep this here. Minimize this. Okay. Well, now while we're doing this, I'm going to explain a little bit before we, and I'm going to, I apologize for stepping out of the code and into something else, but it just reminded me that I didn't explain. Also, one of the things that we're going to be taking care of in the website that we're building is that it is responsive, meaning that depending on the browser, depending on the device that is used to deploy this website, you'll be able to see how some things respond to that specific device, So in a desktop, it will look like that, and in a laptop, and eventually in a tablet, it will look like that, and you'll see how some things start to get stacked this way. Okay, and then now the menu becomes like this, and then that would eventually be also the smartphone way. Okay, now why does that happen? Why do we need this to do this and move from inline to this? The reason why we do that is in responsive web design, the main focus or the main goal of responsive web design is to maintain readability, so that the user can still read everything in its proper sizing and and see the images also in a proper sizing, that they don't have to pinch and zoom with their fingers and then scroll right and left every time they want to read something. So everything will be kind of restructured in smaller viewports, so that they can still see everything large enough that they can read it, so that the button is large enough that a finger can tap it without by mistake tapping on something else, and then something else happens instead. So it preserves a lot of the sizing, and it preserves the readability of the site, and it makes the experience on the mobile device a lot better for the user. So that's mainly the purpose of responsive web design. Okay, and we're going to be building this site that way. All right, so enough of that. So what I wanted to talk, and I'm going to step out of this right here, because I realized that eventually we're going to be covering this on, and I want to dedicate a video for specifically for that kind of stuff and this kind of code. All right, so so now that we know what the responsive is, and I know this code, I built this code here that I started kind of talking to you about it, and I apologize that I kind of jumped the gun on that. What I'm actually going to do is I'm gonna stop here, and I'm going to not continue on this for now, but I will continue on this later on in another part of the tutorial, because I don't want you to get confused and try to code along with what I'm doing right now, because all of this is eventually going to be thrown away. This is not really the actual project that we're going to be coding inside. All of this stuff right here is going to be done from scratch, and you're going to see where all this stuff comes from anyway. So let's not do that. So if you like so far what you're seeing, make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave me any comments or any questions below, and I'll be able to answer them in any way, and and as soon as I can. And just give the tutorial some time. If you're a little confused right now, give the tutorial some time to develop, and you will eventually start understanding a lot of what goes on with these videos and with this tutorial. Okay, and hopefully I'll get better at doing these tutorials myself, because I know I'm not the great speaker, but I do have passion for what I do, and I'm hoping to infect you with that same passion. Okay, see you in the next tutorial.